What's up to all of my Cancers out there, and welcome back to Pulse of the Cosmos. This is your weekly astrology horoscope for the week of June 15th to the 21st of 2020. So, a lot going on for you, my Cancers and my Cancer ascendants out there, because all the action is in your sign this week. We have, at the end of the week, Sunday, depending on where you are in the world, we have a new moon solar eclipse on the 0-degree solstice mark of Cancer. Not only that, we have Mercury on Wednesday going retrograde in your sign in Cancer as well. So there's a lot to be said about what's going on in your first house, and looking at your outlook and looking at your identity and looking at kind of the inner structure of who you are as a person. And this could be a major shift in kind of the way that you present to the world, almost like a major reset and coming out as a whole new being and a whole new person and a whole new kind of personality for yourself almost. Because I do find it interesting that all of the heavy activity that we've had go on in Capricorn over these past few years and into 2017, 2018, 2019, into the beginning of 2020, this was all for you guys in your 7th house, right? So looking at your partnerships and your projects and your relationships and major transformations happening in those areas of your life. And now we're in the polar house to that for this very powerful new moon solar eclipse. So where you've gone through these experiences the past few years and not only learning about and transforming through relationships and partnerships and projects that have been present in your life, you've learned about yourself as an identity removed from relationships, right? These have been kind of a reflection to you as who you truly are. And I think with this new moon solar eclipse happening in the first house, it's a reset kind of, right? Because not only is it a new moon solar eclipse in your first house, it's accompanied by a Mercury retrograde in your first house, where you're really processing the way that you think and processing what you identify with and kind of processing your personality and seeing if your avatar is really in conjunction with your inner being here. So these could be just major transformational moments in your outlook on life that lend to a transformational moment that touches every area of your life, because our outlook dictates kind of how we experience this whole world, correct? So there's a lot to be said there for you guys, my Cancers, and I think that something to be aware of is to look out to where you're outsourcing maybe some of your happiness or outsourcing some of your comfort, or maybe you're caretaking and you've been neglecting yourself and neglecting your own wants and neglecting your own needs and neglecting the things that make you comfortable. This is going to be more about you taking on a major shift, a major change, a major reset in your personality, and to lead you into spaces that are more aligned in what you truly want out of this life, and to connect you with people and relationships that are more aligned and more divine. We do have this new moon solar eclipse is going to be right next to the North Node over there in Gemini. The North Node in Gemini is still at 29 degrees and some odd minutes. So it's going to be less than a degree away from this new moon solar eclipse. So there's a lot to be said about things happening quicker because the North Node is so close, and it's happening in Gemini where it likes kind of immediate things. So a lot of these shifts and a lot of these redirects and a lot of these faded transformational moments coming into your life are going to play out maybe more quickly than we could expect on the surface. So expect a lot of major changes in your areas of life to deal with your perspective and with your outlook and kind of with your personality. You might just be going through a major change where you're like, you know what, I've been acting like someone that is not who I truly am. I'm not aligned with the actions that this avatar is taking, and you're taking that power back within yourself to reset and redirect and lean into these faded moments, these faded opportunities from the universe to align you into a better space and to connect you with that love that you're seeking. But in any case, let's go ahead and pull from the cards for you guys, my Cancers out there. Okay. So the first card we pulled is the King of Cups. So interesting. The King of Cups is Perhaps not the most comfortable in his position as a king, because cups are a very fluid suit. They're a very creative suit. They kind of like to go with the flow, but the king obtains some level of social responsibility where he has to kind of transmute these creative forces into something constructive, right? So where you might feel kind of overwhelmed by different emotions or overwhelmed by some kind of crisis surrounding like some kind of existential crisis that enters into your life as you're encountering all these shifts and kind of the way that you view life and the way that you're approaching things, remember that all of this kind of energy that might feel very overwhelming to you can be transmuted into the creation of something new and into the creation of something beautiful and the creation of something useful that's actually more aligned to what your soul wants while it's in kind of this contract while it's here on this earth. But what's our challenge with kind of connecting to that creative space and connecting to that purpose to make something useful? So we don't feel maybe necessarily the most emotionally fulfilled. Ten of Cups is one of the best cards to get in the deck, but getting it in the challenge position tells me that a lot of my Cancers maybe want that relationship. Maybe they want that home life. They want that kind of stability and they want that kind of security, and they're feeling very ungrounded right now. So maybe there's some root chakra work that we could all do to kind of ground ourselves again in this physical reality and find that inner stability and that inner solidness to kind of operate out of. So let's see here. Let's get some more. So, all right. So we pulled the Four of Swords. So what this tells me is that maybe give your mind a break from trying to figure everything out right now. You don't have to have everything figured out right away. You can kind of play with some of these shifts and some of these changes and see what feels in alignment and see what feels like it isn't, and kind of go with it in that way and not let yourself get so wrapped up into the mental anxieties and attachments of wanting to hold on to certain relationships or wanting to hold on to certain situations or connections that are actually just not part of your soul's contract while you're here. And maybe these connections and these relationships and these people and these situations have served their purpose, and the karma has been settled and it's time to move into these new directions. Maybe you just need a little bit of a mental rest to process some of that. This is just kind of resting mentally before entering into the new, before almost entering into the battle with the Five of Swords. So give yourself a mental rest. Don't let yourself get wrapped up in too many emotional anxieties. We do have the Seven of Pentacles coming up next, which is interesting to me because this is a lot for my Cancers, I think, on the table about maybe you stepping back and taking a rest to see what you want out of this life and what you need out of this life and what are your desires and how can you kind of curate your vision to match that so that you're in a more aligned place. This tells me that a lot of my Cancers have been working very hard. Look how much there is to harvest here, okay? So this guy's able to step back and kind of take a break and appreciate all of the hard work that he's done because he knows that he's done it. He knows it's there for the harvest. And again, he's just kind of processing and appreciating and even maybe in a sense like be proud of yourself for how far you've come, my Cancers. I know a lot of you have been doing a lot of that deeper soul work, working on some of these attachments and working on trying to shift yourself into new and better, more aligned directions. And the work is paying off. The harvest is there. It's okay to step back and be proud of yourself and appreciate all the work that you've done and give yourself a mental break. Give yourself a mental rest from trying to figure everything out right away. And I know you don't feel like you maybe have everything that you want in this moment. You don't have the home life. You don't have the relationship. You don't feel the security. But underneath all of this, you do have this King of Cups energy, this massive amount of creative energy waiting to be transmuted into something new and something better and something useful to you and purposeful to you. And I think that for a lot of you guys, these are experiences, the transmutation is happening from places of pain. So maybe processing through some of these experiences that have brought you pain and thus growth. And now we're looking at where we can kind of transmute those experiences to our best benefit throughout this solar eclipse new moon. But in any case, for all of my Cancers out there, I love you guys so, so much. And just remember that you don't have to have it all figured out right away. And you can be a conscious observer of this reality and look at what fits and what doesn't in that way, without having to get so attached to a certain thing or situation or relationship that defines who you are. You don't want to outsource your personality to other people, you know what I mean? You want to build these things up internally from a very secure and solid way. But in any case, all of my Cancers, I love you guys so much, and I will be back next week with your weekly astrology.